Hey, welcome back to what's going on in the experience. And Ryan, I sent you the interview that I did with Ime Aquanetta, right? So you got to put that up for me for after the show, after the dance, right? The Ebony Canal. I'm excited, dude. I really, really am. That guy he's an award-winning director too, by the way, out of
Right.
Pittsburgh. So the film's gonna be, like I
Legend.
said, oh yeah, I'm excited. On the 27th, come on out, check it out. Narrated by Viola Davis, a story of Black infant health. Don't forget, be there or be squared, 900 East Avenue, the Dryden Theater. So for more information, give me a call, 585-285-0407. And Ryan was playing bad boy with me, man, before we left, and he just loved refs, headbutting people. I mean, coaches headbutting refs. So I said, keep that same energy when we get Jeff the ref on here, who's ref about 4 or 5 Final Fours already, and let me see what he says about the headbutting of the refs.
Well, hopefully he doesn't taunt the other team and he's not one sided and he doesn't have any money on the game somewhere. And I
Oh,
won't
come
give
on,
Jeff
come
the ref a
on.
hard time. Another thing, too, is, we get MLB testing their umps. I don't know if you see the ABS system, not to go too far off here, but accountability finally for these horrible, uh, enforcers, if you will. And there's nothing like that in NBA. You could say
What,
instant
what,
replay. It doesn't do it justice. I think a nice swift headbutt sometimes will
You know,
adjust
because
the
because
plays a
later on
little.
in the show, I do want to talk about the ABS because I was like watching the games the other day, and you only get like a couple of challenges. We'll talk about that, but I just love the fact when the umpire is wrong.
Yeah, I want to see the
On that
umpire
one,
get dirt
listen,
kicked
listen,
on him. I want to see
listen.
a Billy
On that
Martin.
one,
What happened to those type of
listen. On
managers?
that one, I simply agree, especially when you know the pitcher knows the pitch that he's doing. So, but speaking of knows the pitch you're doing, we got the Final Four. We're talking about that. So we got the women's of South Carolina versus UCLA. And I don't know if Juju Schuster is still playing for UCLA. Is she still playing for them? Because I know she was out. So
I
we
couldn't
we,
tell you.
we got to find out if that's going on. Okay. Then we got the men's, like we said, UConn versus Illinois, and Michigan versus Arizona. Now the cool thing about Arizona is we have a kid from Rochester playing in Arizona. His name is Jaden Bradley. So I guess I got to root for the Arizona Wildcats, but I've seen the Michigan Wolverines up front and close. And what did I tell you, Ryan? Didn't I tell you there was some big boys in that team that are gonna go to the Final Four?
You
Didn't
did.
I say when I was in
You said
Buffalo?
it.
I said, "Oh, these guys going to the Final Four." What did I say?
You called it. You did call it. I got to say this to give myself credit here. I predicted three of the final four teams that are still left. I predicted the UConn game-winning shot and headbutt, pretty much.
Okay, okay,
Predicted
Nostradamus.
Arizona, and we'll see because look, I have nearly. I think my bracket's at like 90% success. It's a ridiculously successful bracket, if I do say so myself. For the first time in a long time, because I got my ass kicked over the past few years. But Arizona is who I've got going all the way, Nate. Greg
Me too.
had
I had
Duke,
Arizona going all the way,
so you
but I'm gonna
had
tell you,
Arizona
dude.
too.
I'm gonna tell you. When I text you when I was in Buffalo, and I was like, "Yo, Michigan got grown ass men on their team," because I'm on the floor. I'm not in the stands now, Ryan. I'm watching these guys come down court, run over dudes. They like 7'2", 7'1",
Wow.
6'11". Even their guards are 6'5". They got a big team, dude, and they look like grown ass men who stayed too long for the NIL money. They should
They're
be in
they're a
the G League.
defensive team, but that's the
They
whole
should be
thing.
in
That
the
is,
G League.
I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some big boys, and I'm sure a few of them will get drafted to play those types of roles in the NBA. I think maybe there's one or two guys over there, but how often does a defense first team actually win? I know we say defense wins championships, but they also have a way stronger offense than what Michigan does. I don't see Michigan getting past Arizona because Arizona does it all too.
They do, but if UConn beats Illinois and if Arizona doesn't beat Michigan, I just want to see Michigan just smack UConn around. I just want to see them I just want to see them be grown man basketball in them because, like I said, get in those guys' faces, Danny Hurley. I bet one of them Michigan guys will clock your ass all the way back to Lake Michigan. Start some stuff with them boys from the Midwest if you won't. Okay? You think it's a game, Bobby Hurley. But speaking of the games, like I said, man, I think there are going to be some good matchups later on. And I'm looking forward to that. And on Easter Sunday, we're going to have women's, which is South Carolina versus UCLA. So get your popcorn ready for that. and that's going to be good. So, as we were talking about baseball, we can switch for a quick second. Your stinkies look good, man. And you see
Told
my.
you, man.
I got this
I,
for
s-
you.
I see your Mets drowning, slowly drowning. I see Juan Soto leaving the game with what could be a calf strain. Not a good sign early in
Well,
the season. I don't want to let's not talk about the Mets just yet. Because you know
that's what
I've
I
been waiting for
said.
this moment. I'm sorry.
That's what
I'm
I said.
sorry to take shots. I just go right into attack mode
No,
about the
no.
Mets. I'm sorry.
I'd
But no,
rather
the
go to
Yankees
the
are looking great.
Yankees right now. I'd rather stick on course. How much time we got for this segment? We still got a little time for this segment.
We got a few minutes. Not enough time for the Yankees. Not enough time at all for the Yanks. We could get started because it's this. Look, it's exactly what I predicted coming true.
What are
The
they,
Yankees
7-1?
bullpen.
What are they, 6-1 right now?
6-1 or 7-1, right? Because they're going to win today as we're recording. It airs tomorrow, so we're going to say 7-1. They're playing the Marlins, who, by the way, have been a good team so far. And not like I wouldn't say good. They've had a great start to this season, and it all came to a crashing end at Yankee Stadium because the Yankees pitching is just too dominant for any other team right now. I'm sorry. The only lineup I fear in baseball right now is the lineup that we're going to be seeing in the World Series. And I think we're, like I said, going to see a Yankees Dodgers rematch and showdown for the ages. I mean, look, Cam Schlittler is an actual superstar. Nobody 2 years ago could have saw Ben Rice and Cam Schlittler developing into players that are not necessarily the next Aaron Judge and Garrett Cole, but that's been the big question, Nate, here in Yankee territory is we're running out of Garrett Cole mileage. We're running out of Aaron Judge's prime. And who's going to be able to step up? They didn't make the free agency big splash signings that they needed, but it turns out for the first time really since the Yankees dynasty, we've grown guys.
Why don't they just use
Homegrown
the
guys.
homegrown guys, man? That's all I got to use the homegrown guys to see what happens. And that's what the Mets are trying to do. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I'm going to let him finish ratting and raving about the damn Stinkies. Because,
Perfect timing
it's what it is.
as the great Greg Vaughn enters
So,
the
Greg, we
chat.
just activated you to stay there. We're going to take a quick break because I'm tired of this guy. The damn season just started and he's going off on the Yankees. Greg Vaughn is in the building in the ethos. We're going to be right back. What's going on in the experience on iHeartRadio, Fox Sports 1280. And we're here with Greg Vaughn. He finally found us. We'll be right back. Talk about the Stinkies. Experience here on Fox Sports Radio and iHeart Media. And we got my man Greg Vaughn. He joined the show. What up, Greggy? How you doing?
No, I'm good, brothers. How are you guys?
Hey, listen, man. You got to pinch me.
Nate,
Look at
I
this
think you're
Ryan.
frozen.
Right in the
Ryan,
high,
is it you
baby.
too?
Woo! You know I'm feeling good out here, Mr. Vaughn.
He just happened.
I'm
Right
feeling
now
like
we have
6-1.
technical difficulties. They should be back in a second.
I don't know, man.
I was
I
just
think
trying-
that we're not going to face the legendary June swoon, Greg. For the last few years, that's all we have to worry about in June. I'm not worried about school getting out and having the kids running around nonstop. I'm worried about the June swoon. But I think that this Yankees bullpen is deep. The same bullpen that everyone was talking so much smack about, saying it's not complete. My man Matt Blake has put together some gems. Very excited. Cam Schlittler, I got to ask you this, Greg. Where do you rank Cam Schlittler at this point amongst the best pitchers in baseball? I mean, I know it hasn't been a long time, but this is the same stuff when you faced Roger Clemens, you faced Randy Johnson, you faced Greg Maddux. When you see a guy like Cam Schlittler
Yeah, and the
with
list
the eye
goes on.
test, where do
Pedro
you rank?
Martinez, Nolan
Pedro
Ryan.
Hey, I mean, dude, you faced the greats. So how is he talking about this neophyte?
Nate,
right?
you're cutting
talking
out.
about a neophyte.
Brian, I couldn't hear him. He cut out on my end. And you look
Brian,
frozen
you
with
still
that
there?
goofy smile on your face, Ryan.
Oh no! I wasn't sure if you were pulling on a leg.
Goofy smile on his face. Well, I'll give it up to you. Hey, I tell you what. I'm so happy to see you, brothers, man. I really am. I'm watching. The Giants beat up on the Amazons, and the Yankees are holding it down, and Judge is doing his thing, and the pitching staff's doing what they have to. Hey, it's baseball season, man. It's great to be back in baseball. The Yankees are doing exactly what they're supposed to do. The Red Sox are stinking it up, so I know you're happy with that. And you got to remember too, it's we only have 2 weeks into. I don't even know if we're 2 weeks into the season yet. You know what I mean? We're a week into it. And basically, I think everything's going to be what it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? The Yankees, they have some guys that they plugged and play last year, and they were, counting on. And right now, holding their checkbook close to their hearts, it looks like they, they won the war of what everyone said they should be doing. Even my co-host over here, Ryan, he was crying about 2 months ago because they weren't making any moves. Now he's excited or ecstatic because all the moves they didn't make, they're looking like geniuses. You know what I mean? So I think it's the Yankees are doing what they're supposed to do, man. I think it was the Dodgers, the Yankees, in that order, predicted to win, odds makers to win the chip. So I think with that being said, I think, I'm not surprised. I know Ryan is
That's
happy. You know what I mean? Right now, he's like giving him the trophy. It's like Nate said
All right,
at the
it
play-in
got cut
game.
out, Greg. It got cut out, so you missed question. Now, here's the whole thing: is we see the Yankees off to a good start. 3 years in a row they win the opening day series or the opening series, but it doesn't ever really result, obviously, in a World Series. But we didn't have a Cam Schlittler, we didn't have a Ben Rice, homegrown talent that stepped up, which is why I look like a fool right now. I was, crying Ryan, as you'd say, about not making these big splash signings, but that's why I asked you about, you went up against Nolan Ryan, Pedro Martinez, the greats. Where do you rank a guy like Cam Schlittler, who's only, really, we've only seen about a year of him? Does he pass your eye test, your MLB eye test?
Well, I think he does pass the eye test. I mean, right now he does, but you know, it's the early splash is the one that is tantalizing, but it's longevity, being able to sustain it, being
There
able to
you go.
you, you, you
Sustain
know
it.
you,
Building
you
it.
know hitters being able to see him more than once or twice, now knowing what his ball does exactly, because on the iPad is not, there's no, you take the human effect out of it. It's good for the information, but until you can see it, you can see the late movement, the spin or not the spin, the late sink, the late run. The more times you see it, it doesn't mean you're going to hit it, but the better chances, the odds are better in your favor when it comes down to that. But right now, he does pass the eye test. I say them boys in Toronto pass the eye test too. They punch out 12 every
Yep.
single night. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
I think right now, you know, the pitchers, as expected for me, coming out of spring training, the pitchers are where they're supposed to be, and it takes hitters a little bit, right? It takes hitters.
Yes. Because, for example, speaking of hitters, I'm going to cut you off, Greg. Speaking of hitters, it took my man Bo Bichette a few games to get his groove. Because at the beginning, the first 3 games, they were trying to get him out of New York. I'm like, there's only 3 games, New York. What are you doing in the
You
guy?
were there booing, Nate. I think I
Hey,
saw
hey,
you booing
hey,
from the
You
stands.
just got here. I wasn't
hey,
booing. I'm like,
hey,
the dude
hey,
just
hey,
got
hey,
here.
hey, Crying Ryan. I wish I could have been on Nate's couch. You know what I mean? Crying Ryan. I wish I'd have been. After 3 games, they want their money back after 3 games. That's a
No,
tough
but
crowd,
it
man.
wasn't me. But it wasn't me because, like you said, Greg, it takes. I mean, even Lindor got up to a slow start. You said it. It takes the hitters a little longer to catch up with the pitching. When it caught up with them, yeah, the Mets just won the other night. They lost to the Giants the first night, the time out, but so it's starting to get good. Yeah, my man Soto went down, but I like Roberts Jr. I like
He's great.
the new guys the Mets have. I think they could gel, but as you said, Mr. Baseball guy, the season just started. So I learned from you, Mr. Major League Silver Slugger, not to get too high on my squad yet, because they can come crashing down. And I don't want to get disappointed. So I'm gonna stay just here, Mr. Silver Slugger. I'm gonna stay right here and just watch the games with enthusiasm and don't act like Ryan, because I don't want to start crying.
Yeah, you know what though? But like I said, man, it takes a while. Even Soto, it took him all the first half last year to even get going. You know, uh, all Bo has ever done is hit. You know what I mean? So he's gonna hit. He didn't stop hitting
Yep.
because he went to the Mets. You know what?
Yeah.
You know what? Unfortunately, this is a game, and we do have the human effect. He wanted to come out in those first 3 games, I'm sure, inside and make a huge splash. We're in the Big Apple. We're in New York. They paid me all this. They gave me my bag. So they gave me my loot. So I'm going out there to try to show that I'm worth it. And maybe sometimes a road trip helps you, getting away from the hometown fans and getting away from, that little bit of added pressure, is just what the doctor ordered. Hey, I have a
So
question though.
speaking of what the doctor ordered,
I have a
I'm going to say
question.
right quick, stay there because Ryan, I'm going to transition with this one. The ABS system, because you mentioned that, right, Greg? I want you to talk a little about that and how do you feel about that? And you get 2 challenges, and is that good for baseball?
I think it's great for baseball. I think it's showing, I think it's about a decade and a half too late, because it would have been nice back in the day when Tino was facing Mark Langston. We would have went to the hat,
Yep.
you know what I mean? And
Oh,
and
thank God.
we would have ran off the
Someone's-
field. You know what I mean? So I'm still having nightmares about that. But dude, it's showing. I mean, CB Buckner, like I said, I hate black on black crime, man, but it is what it is. He's thrown me out of more games than anybody ever has. Because and now that I know it's not just me, I'm talking to other guys.
Uh-huh.
He's not that good, man. And I'm not trying to say that, but our livelihood is at stake. And this is what I try to explain to him, right? Dude, if we don't do what we're supposed to do, we get sent down, we get our contracts terminated, and you just up here calling everything a strike and bringing us up and doing all this, and then we can't say nothing to you. You know what I mean? So I think he had 10 overturned in one game. Somebody yesterday had 8 in the Atlanta and Arizona game, on both sides. So, do we lose the human element? Yeah, we do to a point. But I mean, this shit's important, man. I mean, at bats are important, and I think if you go through all the Hall of Famers, the one thing about them, they didn't waste at bats. You know what I mean? Everything was important all the time, and that's what Tony Gwynn says. Hey, man, this might be my last at bat, so this at bat's important. You know what I mean? Every at bat's important. I think that's what separates the greats from, I'm going to say, the non-greats. And just like careers are put on the line, man, you could run into a streak of bad luck, and all these calls go against you. You know what I mean? But we're seeing how it's tough. Some of the calls are a millimeter of a centimeter of an inch, off the plate or below the strike zone. So no one's saying it's not tough, but now you see the umpires, they act like we're showing them up. No, we just want a strike to be called a strike and a ball to be called a ball. That's all we want, right?
You say the weather.
Yeah.
You can't just you can just predict the weather wrong. Nobody cares. You go to the websites online. There's 10 different weather forecasts, but the umpire can't get his job done. It's fine. They should be happy that they're not replaced by robots entirely, if you ask me. Screw the human element.
On the basis, I think, the thing I like about the ABS is that they're doing it in a timely fashion, right? As soon as he taps the hat, it's up there,
Yeah.
But you see these umpires getting pissed off because they're questioning, and more often than not, the player has been right, whether it's the hitter, whether it's the catcher, right? They have been
or
right.
the pitcher,
Yeah,
because
or the pitcher.
The pitcher know damn well where that ball is going. So for you not to even give him the courtesy to listen to him, that's because some of these refs and umpires were so dismissive. They're just so dismissive of you, and then they want to ring you up anyway. So I watch some of them with their attitude. So at the end of the day, I'm all for it. I think it'll make the game a lot better, and I think it'll make the umpires a little more cleaner. It's like, nah, guys, you got to do your job a lot better.
Yeah,
if it means me calling your ass out with a robot, then you're gonna do a better job.
It's a hard job. It's I get it. It's a super hard job. But that's why there's robots. That's why other sports don't leave it fully up to the human element. And like you said, there's people's jobs at stake. Not one person in the history of man went to any professional sports event to watch the umpire or the referee. We're there to watch the players and to watch a great game of competition and hopefully rules not broken. Absolutely. Accountability is needed. And every single time there's an ABS call, I get so excited. I don't like that there's only 2 allowed, and then you can't do it anymore. You go as long as you can until you've messed up twice. I don't know. Greg, I agree with you 100%.
But what's crazy? Until the leagues were, the umpires were united when they had separate leagues. Back in the day, it doesn't mean they were any better, but you knew their strike zone, and you knew, and you could talk to them. These new guys, when they came out, like I said, from CB, from day one, he didn't like Greg Vaughn. He didn't like the color of my skin, the way I looked. He didn't like nothing. You know what I mean? So I mean, you have a guy that has 12, 13, 14 years in the game, and you say, hey man, that might be outside. Swing the bat. It's a strike. I mean, so once again, the delivery, because after that long in the league, you know how to put your head down and say, hey man, that might be a little outside. No, swing the goddamn bat. I said it's a strike.
Right. You can't talk to nobody like that.
You know
That's
what?
what I was saying, Greg.
That's what I'm saying.
And
So
we
so they
started off
want
the conversation about that too.
so they want us to have respect. But I have to say this: 95% of them are good guys. Now, I mean, you can have a conversation, but that's just like the humans walking on this planet. You know what I mean? Some guys just they hate everything. They don't like their job. You can't talk to them. But I should say 99% of them are good guys, and you could talk to them. But it's just the new era of umpires. When I was exiting the game, it was a little tough, man, because you couldn't even say, "Hey, man, I thought that was outside." I was swinging the goddamn bat. I'm like, God damn. I can't ask you if that was on the corner or if it was up or down. You know what I mean? So I think, it's circling back, especially with CB. I know, and like I said, I hate black on black crime, man, but goddamn, I see him on Sports Center every night missing calls. He's behind the plate. And I know it wasn't me.
Okay. Hey, Ryan, we're going to take a quick break, right?
It's that time. We got to go to a quick
All right,
break.
and when we come
Message from
back-
our sponsors coming up.
Yes, when we come back, we're going to talk some NBA a little bit, Greg, and we're going to find out what it looked like. Because Detroit's still looking good to me. I don't know who that new guy they got playing point guard, but he ain't missing a beat. I know he ain't my man, Cade Cunningham, but he damn sure close. We'll be right back. Fox Sports 1280. I don't know, Knicks. I don't know. Folks, welcome back to our final segment of What's Going On in the Experience here on Fox Sports 1280 with my man Ryan V down at NYC and got Greg Vaughn on the West Coast. And this segment is sponsored by Alzheimer's Association. 1-800-272-3900, alz.org. Give it up to the Alzheimer's Association. But speaking of the Alzheimer's Association and different stuff like that, we talking about Cade Cunningham before we left. You got an update on Cade Cunningham because he had a collapsed lung. And as I was saying, the Pistons are still hitting on all cylinders, or I should say all pistons.
That's right. And you mentioned your point guard, your new point guard, Dennis Jenkins, stepping up to the plate. Yeah, I mean, look, it's definitely not Cade Cunningham, but like you said, the team is stepping up in light of the absence of Cade Cunningham. There's still I wouldn't want to run into them right in the first round. They're still going to play an 8 seed. So I don't know, but I don't know. It's without a superstar like that. And by the way, Jalen Duren, his growth has been incredible as well. But I don't know, Greg, what are your thoughts on the Pistons? Do you think they have a shot at how far will they go without Cade Cunningham?
I think the Pistons are, it's a different version of OKC in the East, right? They, the way Bickerstaff has came in and, his vision of what he wanted his team to play like, the toughness, the being durable. And if you don't play defense, you're not getting on the court. You know what I mean? It goes back to OKC. You got to give it at both ends. And they have great young pieces. You know what I mean? But I think, the backup point guard, his job isn't to do it over 82 games, it's to manage the ship while your guy's out. You know what I mean? And he's proven capable of that. It's just like having a good backup quarterback. It's you can't put, you're vulnerable if you play all 18 games or 17 games, but for 2 or 3 games, you can hold it down until the captain can get back. And it just proves that, their front office did a great job, man, as far as having bodies in there, not just to fill a roster spot, but that are capable of playing good minutes, and giving those guys giving those guys a little
Greg, let's stay on that for a quick second, Ryan, because I want to go to the West where Greg is at because OKC looks good, but there's something about Denver and San Antonio. I don't know if I'm gonna say. Okay, OKC's gonna come out of the West totally. I don't know if I can say that, Greg. What do you think,
you
Ryan?
can't. I can't say that. Hey, Nate, you didn't get this gray hair from being stupid. You know what I mean?
Right. I can't say it, Greg. I can't.
No, you can't. You can't because, like I said, those 3 teams that you just named are capable of going all the way. You know what I mean? And San Antonio, they look, man. San Antonio is scary right now, and I think OKC finally beat them. I think once
Yep.
the other
Yep.
they finally got them, but up until then, it's been in San Antonio, and Wemby's just doing his thing, man. It's a blessing. I wasn't around when Will Chamberlain was doing his thing, but this had to be the closest thing to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It truly is. It is.
Being that dominant, right? I think you had Shaq, you
I
had
had an
Hakeem, you had
argument.
all those guys,
Okay,
but
settle this
it's
argument for me, gentlemen. I had an argument with my brother, right? He was telling me that Michael Jordan is the greatest. And I'm like, I don't think he is. He goes, why? I said, because they never changed the game for Michael Jordan. Now, what they did do was they changed the rules. You can hack them, but they never changed the game. They changed the game for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He could not dunk the basketball. That is, to me, great when they have to change the rules
you mean
for
Will?
you.
You mean Will?
No, Kareem. When Kareem went
when
to
he first came out,
UCLA,
got you. Yes,
when
yes.
they didn't let him dunk freshman and sophomore year because they said, now you can't do it. The same thing with Wilt. They moved the foul line back because he was sure. So what I'm saying to me, the debate with my brother was, I know everybody loved Michael Jordan, but he wasn't a rule or game changer where they had to actually change the game so the rest of the guys can catch up.
I see what you're saying, but it wasn't like he wasn't because he didn't have like a cheap move per se or something that was just so unstoppable that they had to change the game. But he was that good. He was the best.
I'm not denying that.
I understand what Ray said. They saying they had to break out the redistricting law. You know, and they had to redistrict. They had to change everything to give everybody else a chance. You know what I mean?
Didn't they change?
Because
so who else?
It wasn't cheap, Ryan. You said cheap. It wasn't cheap. It's like now, if somebody is 7 foot and they dunking on you, and the rest of you guys ain't get the 7 foot yet, that ain't his fault.
It's true. So what rule would be changed then? If there was a rule that they'd have to change for Wemby, what would it be? Because it's not like there's anything that's so rule bending to me. He's just that dominant. And this to me is his first MVP season. I don't see at this point how anybody's going to take him out of the number one spot. I think if you were to look, I'm sure he is number one on the MVP ladder. Would you say this is his first chance at becoming an MVP?
Well, I still think SGA is still up there too. You know what I mean? SGA, but it's hard. You know what? It's I know they have the 85 game rule, but there was a period or 65 game rule. Sorry, 65. The SGA wasn't on the court, right? So I don't. And your boy Kay Cunningham, he's going to miss that 65 game rule with the collapse.
Luka's now out for the season.
With a collapse lung. It just seems like back in the day, guys were, I don't want to question the durability, but they did not miss games. You know what I mean? They didn't have rest days, cheat days, sleep days. They weren't on the bench.
Kawhi Leonard days.
They don't even play defense. Let's be honest. They don't even play defense until the playoffs. They're not going as hard as they should be. There's a few games that matter, but yeah, no, you're right, Greg. And to me, what stands out is just the lack of effort, the lack of defensive effort. I honestly have a hard time watching the NBA sometimes.
All right, Brian, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
And Greg, okay, just quickly before we bounce, we have a little more time. Jaden Ivory, he used to be on the Detroit Pistons, got traded. You know what I'm going, Greg? Got traded to the Chicago Bulls. I guess they had LGBTQ the letters night because I always get the letters wrong. They had the letters night, and he said I wasn't with it. He simply says, "Yo, I'm not down with the program, but you got a guy like Miles Bridges beating the shit out of his girlfriend, okay, smacking everybody around. He gets a 2 games to 3 or whatever game suspension, but you kick my man off the team." Greg, as an athlete, my brother, talked to me about that because I don't think that's fair, man. And I'm sorry. I know everybody got their own thing, but sometimes the gay folks got too much damn power. I don't get it. I'm saying you can't be doing that to people. Everybody don't agree with your lifestyle. Let's get that straight. And I'm not saying that they don't have the right to say something, but yo, man, they'll make that man lose his job because he don't agree with an LGBTQ night. That's all he said. I don't agree with that.
You know, and that was his that's his beliefs. You know what I mean? He was. I was reading a little bit about it, and his Christianity and his Bible, it doesn't say that, right? God made Adam, God made Eve, and
That's it.
that's and God's Adam's supposed to be with Eve. So it's hey man, we're in one of those places in time, Nate. I think where our words and who they come from are so important. I mean, believe it or not, even with what we have at sitting at the top of the power chain, you know what I mean? He can say anything he wants. I can go back last week and see 10 things that, I mean, he's praising people dying, you know what I mean? And this kid gets kicked out of the, the league
NBA.
basically for saying, that's not his beliefs. I think it could have been handled differently. I don't know how it was handled. We just seen the finished version, right? We don't know if they pulled him to the side and said, "Hey, man, back off your comments." Keep, it's a sensitive matter out there. Part of our fan
Greg, what
base.
I'm saying to you is this: the dude Miles, how many dudes in the NBA be beating up their girlfriends, and the NFL be beating up their? I'm saying nah, and baseball, I'm stop that for me as a man. So you're gonna give a man a pass for beating up a woman, but then again, a man who says, "Nah, man, I don't agree with that. I'm kneeling." You're gonna kick them out the. That's what I'm saying. And you have a dude in the White House who said, "Oh man, I'm getting rid of Medicaid and Medicare because I got to fight a war." Hell, that's my Social Security.
Let's be honest.
Wait a
If
minute.
there's anyone that's going to
Hold on,
defend,
Ryan. I'm going to No King's Cave.
if there's anybody that's going to defend
Social
this,
Security.
I see what you're saying, but I would say this: like, we always are talking a lot of smack about Trump, and for good reason. If there is a president that's going to stand up for anti-LGBTQ rights, it's him. I'm surprised he's been silent. I guess he's not white enough, Ivy, for Trump to go and
not
defend
white
him.
enough. But like I said, we can put somebody in with 34 felonies in the White House. We can do all these things, but I think it goes back to we knew what we could say and not say, no matter in what context it was, right? But we don't ever mess up your money, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And right now they have so many outlets and so many different, between social media and news outlets and microphones coming here. You don't even need a microphone, just a cell phone. And whatever you say, after you push send or you push record, I mean, it's there for life, right? So I think, I don't know what type of moment he was in. I don't know how vulnerable he was in. I don't know, if he could trust the people he was talking to. But, it goes back to, we were taught by former players, by, our peers at home, wherever, don't mess up your money, man. Don't say something to mess up your money. And I think this is just one of those situations where, we got reminded of it. We did with Kaepernick also, he was so disrespectful to the police because he took a stance on not, on traffic stops and, putting knees on people's neck and shooting people just for getting pulled over, brought awareness to that. Now he doesn't have a job, but yet we can say, hey, come on in on January 6th. And not just that, that's the worst crime that's ever came across America besides 9/11. And you let them go on January 6th. But now we're not just going to we're going to give them a slap on the wrist, but then we're going to erase all their history. We're going to erase all that legal stuff and pardon them and give them ICE jobs and put them in the cabinet and administration. And we're going to celebrate these people. Same people that were talking about Kaepernick. So like I said, man, our problems are not with Ivy. Our problems, we have a lot of other problems. We got
there you go.
We got big problems. And like I said, if you have any ounce of humanity, this isn't about blue, red. This is about right is right, wrong is wrong. And it can't be wrong on, right on January 6th, but wrong on every other day. I mean, that's just not the way we get out, right? And until we addressed it as human beings, until we have people too that lead us with compassion and empathy and care about everybody instead of just particular people, this isn't going away anytime soon.
Greg, man, thank you for that commentary, man, because we really appreciate that, man. We got to get out of here. And don't forget, after the dance with director Ime Alaquita, he's going to be on talking about the Ebony Canal. Ryan's going to have that up for you. And Greg, as always, man, thank you so much, man. We appreciate you. Ryan, my brothers from another mothers. You guys are okay by me.
Hey, Nate, who you got today? Nate, I missed that segment. Who you got today?
What you talking about? Who you talking about?
No, I'm talking about who you got in the games. I mean, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock. I got Michigan, man.
Okay, I told him I got to take Zona, only because of Jaden Bradley from Rochester. But
There you
I
go.
did see Michigan up front, Greg. Up close, and they should be playing in the damn G League. They should be in the NBA. Them some big dudes. I
Hey,
don't know where they found them
what
cats
do you
at.
got on? Is UConn gonna beat Illinois?
I will hope Illinois whacks the hell out of them. I can't stand Dan Hurley. We talked about that earlier. We're gonna have some more information on that next week, man. But we gotta go. Ryan, who you got?
I already said for today. I'm going to say Arizona, UConn. I got to go with my original predictions. I have Arizona beating UConn in the NCAA championship.
I had Michigan beating Duke. You know what I mean? So
Okay.
I had.
All right, fellas. Until next week, we got to get out of here. Peace. God bless. Sorry about that, Phil, but we was getting it in, bro. You know how we do. You work it out. Peace.
Peace.